You got the raise. You told yourself this was the one that would finally change things. And for about 2 weeks, it did. Then, almost without noticing, your life quietly expanded to meet the new number, and the feeling of not quite having enough crept right back in. This isn't a personal failing, and it isn't about being bad with money. It's one of the most reliably documented patterns in behavioral economics. As income rises, so does the internal benchmark for what counts as secure. The finish line moves. Not because you're greedy, but because the human mind doesn't measure wealth in absolute terms. It measures it in relation to something. Last year's lifestyle. Your neighbor's lifestyle. The version of yourself you imagine you'd become by now. Researchers who study subjective well-being have found that people consistently overestimate how much happier or more secure a higher income will make them feel, and consistently underestimate how quickly they'll adapt to it. The technical term is hedonic adaptation, but you've probably just called it feeling stuck. The frustrating part is that this isn't a phase you grow out of. It scales with you. The person earning $30,000 a year and the person earning $300,000 can feel the exact same ambient financial anxiety because both of them are measuring themselves against a bar that keeps rising just out of reach. There's actually a name for what keeps that bar moving. Psychologists call it hedonic adaptation, and it's one of the most thoroughly documented patterns in all of human psychology. The basic idea is this: your brain has a kind of emotional set point, a baseline level of satisfaction that it keeps returning to, almost regardless of what changes in your external circumstances. You get a raise, you feel genuinely thrilled, and then, within weeks or months, that new salary stops feeling like a windfall and just starts feeling like your salary. The thing that used to seem like a luxury quietly becomes the floor. And this isn't a character flaw or a failure of gratitude. It's how your nervous system was designed. The same mechanism that helped your ancestors stop fixating on yesterday's successful hunt and start scanning for tomorrow's threats is the exact same one draining the excitement out of your new apartment or your upgraded car. Your brain is built to notice change, not to sustain appreciation for a stable condition. The cruel part is that we are genuinely bad at predicting this. When you're anticipating something, you imagine the feeling will last. You think this promotion, this house, this number in your account will finally feel like enough. But the emotional boost fades far faster than you expect, and the baseline just quietly shifts upward to meet you. And that shifting baseline doesn't just affect how you feel, it reshapes how you spend. Because the moment your income goes up, something almost automatic happens. You start making small, reasonable-seeming upgrades. A slightly nicer apartment because you can finally afford it. A newer car because the old one is starting to feel embarrassing. Dinner out a few more nights a week because you've earned it. Each decision feels completely justified in isolation, and honestly, it is. You worked hard. You got the raise. Why shouldn't things get a little better? Here's the problem. Every one of those upgrades quietly raises your floor. Your fixed costs climb to meet your new income. And suddenly the surplus you expected to have, the breathing room you were counting on, has already been spoken for before you even noticed it was gone. Economists and behavioral researchers call this lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the most reliable traps in personal finance precisely because it doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like progress. The cruel irony is that you can keep earning more for years, genuinely earning more, and still feel just as financially tight as you did before. Because the spending expands right alongside the income, almost in lockstep. The gap between what comes in and what goes out barely moves. And without that gap, without genuine surplus, there's nothing left to convert into actual security or freedom. So if the math isn't the whole problem, what else is going on? Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Your brain is constantly running a background process, quietly asking, how am I doing compared to everyone else? And the answer it reaches has almost nothing to do with how much you actually have. It depends entirely on who you're measuring yourself against. Researchers call this social comparison, and here's the part that catches most people off guard. We almost never compare downward. You don't wake up thinking about people earning less than you and feel grateful by default. Instead, your reference point tends to be whoever is just one step above. The colleague who got the bigger bonus, the neighbor with the newer car, the friend who just bought a house that's slightly larger than yours. And the insidious part is that this recalibrates automatically as your income grows. When you were making less, a certain lifestyle looked like a rival, like you'd finally made it. Then you got there, and the goalposts had already moved. Your peer group shifted. Your social circle expanded into a slightly higher bracket. What used to look like luxury now just looks like normal. And normal, by definition, never feels like enough. This isn't a character flaw. It's a deeply human mechanism. But left unexamined, it means every raise quietly inflates your expectations before it can ever inflate your security. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because this isn't just about wanting things. It's about how your brain physically values time. Behavioral economists call it temporal discounting. The idea is straightforward. The further away a reward is, the less psychological weight it carries. Not just a little less, dramatically less. $1 today feels more valuable to your brain than $1 next year, even if you know intellectually that they're the same dollar. Future you, in other words, feels like a stranger, and you wouldn't sacrifice your comfort for a stranger. So when you think about saving money, your brain is essentially being asked to hand something real and immediate over to someone it barely recognizes as itself. The pleasure of buying something now is vivid and concrete. The security of having savings in 5 years is abstract and foggy. Your nervous system isn't wired to feel that future payoff. It can only reason about it. And reasoning rarely beats feeling in a head-to-head contest. This is why the advice to just think about your future self so rarely works on its own. You can visualize retirement all you want, but your brain keeps returning its attention to right now, to this moment, to what feels real. The present has a neurological advantage that willpower alone can't consistently overcome. An understanding that is actually the first step toward working with your brain instead of against it. Here's something that might reframe how you think about money entirely. It turns out your brain doesn't really care how much you earn in any absolute sense. What it cares about, deeply, almost obsessively, is how you're doing compared to the people around you. Researchers call this relative income, and the evidence behind it is striking. Studies consistently show that your sense of financial well-being tracks your position in a local hierarchy far more than your actual paycheck. So if you earn a comfortable salary but your neighbors, colleagues, or even people you follow online are earning noticeably more, your brain registers something close to deprivation, even when your needs are fully met. Think about what that means in practice. Someone earning the same income in 2 different zip codes can have completely different emotional experiences of that money, simply because the social comparison changes. In one place they feel stable and secure. In another, surrounded by people who seem to have more, they feel like they're falling behind. The numbers are identical. The feeling is not. This isn't vanity or weakness. It's a deeply wired response that likely helped our ancestors navigate social structures where status and resources were closely linked. But today it can quietly distort your entire relationship with money, making you feel perpetually short no matter how much the number in your account actually grows. So the obvious answer seems simple: just earn more. If you feel like you never have enough, the fix must be to increase the amount coming in. And so you work harder, take the promotion, pick up the side project, chase the race. The income goes up. For a moment, it feels like it worked. But here is what tends to happen next. The moment your income rises, your reference point rises with it. Your sense of what counts as a reasonable apartment, a reasonable car, a reasonable vacation, all of it quietly recalibrates upward. The lifestyle that once felt like a reward starts to feel like the bare minimum. And now you need even more just to feel the same level of okay. This is not a flaw in your character. It is a feature of how the mind tracks progress. The same ambition that pushed you to earn more is also constantly scanning for the next level, the next gap, the next place where you fall short. Earning more does not quiet that scanner. It often makes it more sensitive. So you run faster, and the finish line moves faster. The cycle accelerates. People who double their income sometimes report feeling more financially anxious than before, not less, because the stakes feel higher and the expectations have grown to match. More money, same feeling. That is the trap hiding inside the just earn more logic. So if income alone does not move the needle on how financially secure you actually feel, what does? Researchers who study financial well-being have spent years trying to answer exactly that, and a few findings keep showing up across very different populations and income levels. The first is a felt sense of control, not having a lot of money, but feeling like the money you do have is yours to direct. People who believe they can influence their financial situation, even modestly, consistently report higher well-being than people with larger incomes who feel like their finances just happen to them. The perception of agency matters more than the dollar amount. The second is visible progress. Vague goals like save more or get better with money do almost nothing for your sense of financial security. Concrete, meaningful targets that you can actually see yourself moving toward have a measurably different effect on how you feel day to day. The direction matters as much as the destination. And the third is where you spend. Decades of research on spending and happiness point in a consistent direction. Money spent on experiences or on other people tends to produce more lasting satisfaction than money spent on things that signal status or keep up appearances. Status purchases are particularly resistant to that effect because comparison erases the gain almost immediately. None of these require earning more. All of them require thinking differently. So here is the real question worth sitting with. What if enough was never a finish line you were supposed to cross, but a relationship you were supposed to build? The psychological research on this is actually pretty clear. Satisfaction is not a destination your income delivers you to. It is a state your mind either learns to access or it does not, and your salary is almost entirely beside the point once your basic needs are covered. The hedonic treadmill does not care how fast you run. It simply speeds up to match you. What changes things is not the number on your paycheck getting bigger. It is getting specific and honest about what you actually want the money to do, not in theory, not someday, but right now in your actual life. Because vague wanting is endless by design. It has no edge, no shape, no moment where it says that is it. That is the thing. The people who report feeling financially secure are not, on average, the wealthiest people in the room. They are the ones who stopped letting the target drift. They defined enough in concrete terms, held the line against comparison, and noticed when they arrived. You will keep feeling broke until you decide what not broke actually looks like for you. And the interesting thing is, that decision was always yours to make.